This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Details at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Three-time Grammy winner Samara Joy headlines the DC Jazz Festival this Friday at the Anthem in Washington, D.C. She joined me to discuss her meteoric success, including Grammys for Best Jazz Performance for Tight, Best Jazz Vocal Album for Linger a While, and of course the overall prize for Best New Artist of 2023, joining the ranks of Dua Lipa, Billie Eilish, Megan Thee Stallion, and Olivia Rodrigo directly before her. Samara Joy, hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, it's a thrill, and not every day we get a Grammy-winning best new artist of last year to join us on the station. But we're talking because you're performing live at the Anthem this Friday, August 30th, as part of the DC Jazz Fest. And we can get to that in a second. But first, there's something even more urgent because today, Wednesday, you're dropping the first single from your new studio album, Portrait. Tease it. What's the single called?
Oh man, it's called You Stepped Out of a Dream.
You stepped out of a dream. And what is it about? Elaborate on what that means.
Well, this song and I guess the album as a whole is kind of about me putting together this band. So it's 8 of us total, doing our arrangements not only to some hidden standards that I love, but also to jazz compositions that I put lyrics to. Kind of like an incubator for, cultivating my own sound and my own dream of what a group like this would sound like. So it's 4 horns, trombone, trumpet, alto sax, and tenor saxophone, and piano, bass, and drums, my peers. And I'm really looking forward to hearing people's response to the album because it was such a fun project to record, being in Rudy Van Gelder, kind of everybody all being in the same room, natural, organic, good vibes, all that stuff.
I love it. And like you're saying, so it's like a bit of an octet kind of a thing with 8 different instruments here with you. It's going to be cool. Awesome. And so the song is Stepping Out of the Dream, but the album is called Portrait. And you're saying that there's some cool, some like hidden gem covers of some classic standard jazz tunes. So what are some of those standards that are featured on the album?
So I don't know if you would recognize them by name, but the standards that are on the album, in addition to You Stepped Out of a Dream, is Autumn Nocturne. And there's another one, I guess that might be a Brazilian standard more than anything else, called Chega de Saudade, or No More Blues, written by Antonio Carlos Jobim. And I don't know if I can say anything else. But
that's okay.
Yeah.
You'll recognize them when you hear them, folks.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's the new single out today and the new album. When's the album actually drop?
October 11th.
Oh, October 11th. Okay, cool. So get the single today, and then that'll tee it up. But then, as we mentioned at the top, you're performing live this Friday at the Anthem. Such a cool spot, and it's for the DC Jazz Fest. Now, I think I've seen your name on DC Jazz Fest bills in the past. This isn't your first time playing it, right?
Yes, this is my second time, I believe. Last year was so beautiful and so much fun. It was outside. It was super hot. But it was a beautiful time. So I've never been to the Anthem before, so I'm looking forward to my debut.
It's really cool. It's basically like how do I describe it? It's like the big brother or sister venue to the legendary 930 Club in DC. That's like the big old school spot was 930 Club, but then they opened the Anthem, and Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, because he's a local Virginia guy, they opened it, I don't know, pre-pandemic, relatively recently, like 2018, like somewhere in there. But you're gonna love it. It's a cool spot. Why? I mean, what else is gonna happen? Like this actual show? Like, are you gonna be up there with like D Nice? Like, tease this particular set a little bit.
Well, I don't know if we're all doing a set together, but I know that it's a pretty heavy heavy lineup of folks. DJ D Nice is performing, Jacob Collier is performing, and I'll be there too. So it should be a fun, eclectic night for sure.
Awesome. And what will you like in terms of set list wise? Is it going to be mostly stuff from Portrait, or are they going to sprinkle in some of your stuff from your other albums?
I So I've definitely been exploring new repertoire. So there's repertoire from that hasn't been recorded yet that we're kind of working out on the road since we have a lot of tour dates coming up, as well as stuff from Portrait, as well as new things that we're trying out. So it's a healthy balance.
I love it. Well, I'd love, in addition to teasing, the album and the show and all the new cool stuff we have going on, I'd love to remind folks your superhero origin story a little bit. I know you were born in the Bronx in what, 1999. So you're sort of like on the cusp of a new millennium of music you were listening to. So what was some of the music you listened to growing up, jazz or otherwise?
I didn't start listening to jazz until college. So growing up, I was pretty much an old head, and my parents introduced me to a lot of Motown and soul and R&B, and so those that was in gospel as well. So that's kind of the area that I was most comfortable in as far as listening and stuff. I had a little mini iPod Nano that that surprisingly fit all of that music on there. So yeah, in addition to some pop stuff here and there, but definitely sticking to my parents' generation of music for sure.
Well, you got to hear all the oldie but goodie stuff. That's good foundational stuff. And then we listen to all our current stuff and you mix it all together and you got the old school and the new school. It's perfect. Great. And then I believe that I read when you were what? Gosh, probably only about 20 in like 2019-ish. You won the Sarah Vaughan International Jazz Vocal Competition. How would you consider that like a big break for your career?
It was definitely a big turning point because I had only at that point been listening to jazz and really studying it for about 2.5 years or so. So getting the opportunity to quote unquote compete was exciting enough for me because I hadn't really been performing publicly like at that time. I was just strictly doing school. So to compete and then to win, it was definitely a big introduction into this whole new world that I hadn't really been a part of or known before.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and at that point, people, well, at least in the jazz world, at least knew your name at that point. So then I guess what? Shortly after that, I believe you're still in college there in New York. When you recorded your self-titled debut, Samara Joy, in 2021, was that just like a self-funded, produced kind of a thing, like an indie label kind of a vibe?
It was definitely indie label, but it was more people funded than anything.
Okay.
It was like a, a video that went viral on Facebook of all places, and people were asking about what new music and I should record something, and that this was August of 2020, so I was heading into my senior year
Oh
of
gosh, you're in COVID. You're it's pandemic at that point.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hadn't really thought about it or thought about recording and stuff like that. But the producer who was one of the judges at the Seraphon competition ended up reaching out and we recorded that. I used pretty much the winnings from the Seraphon competition as well as starting a GoFundMe and stuff, and we got it done and signed
Ah.
Whirlwind Recordings in the UK.
Oh, that was the label Whirlwind. Okay. But I like that. Thank you're making this easy on me. Because the Vaughn International Jazz Vocal Competition winner that directly led to this. It's good when, it's one thing led to the next. I have to ask, what was the Facebook video? What was the song you were playing?
It was another kind of obscure one. It was a song. It was dedicated to Ella Fitzgerald because I was named an Ella Fitzgerald scholar for my senior year, and they were pretty much helping me to finish my senior year, helping with tuition. And it was called "Take Love Easy," and I did it as like a kind of cut together video with my professor at the time, and it just kind of went crazy. And I wasn't active on social media at that point at all, so I was pretty surprised by that. I guess because we were all inside, we needed something to share and spread, you know.
Oh, that's a good way to put that. Yeah, of course. And okay, well, I was just curious what the Facebook video is. All right, thanks. So a little Ella Fitzgerald action. All right, and how important was viral videos? And didn't you have a brush with Regina King?
Yes, I she saw that Facebook video, and then she was in this Hollywood Reporter interview with Spike Lee and George Clooney, and like the question was, what are you listening to now, in the midst of the pandemic? Because it was a Zoom roundtable, and she mentioned my name, and now a couple of years later, I got to collaborate with her on this movie Shirley that she uh, starred in, dedicated to Shirley Chisholm, and co-write a song with the great PJ Morton called "Why I'm Here." So full circle.
That's awesome. Yes, that biopic came out this year, I guess,
Yeah,
earlier on Netflix now, I
earlier
think.
this year.
That's fantastic. All right. So we're moving right along. Your album had come out. Jazz Times names you best new artist, so you're rocking and rolling. And your second album, this is probably the one where you go completely mainstream. Everybody knows who you are outside of the jazz world. And you transcend. It's called Linger a While in 2022. You win the Grammy for Best Jazz Vocal Album. So, and you take the crown from Esperanza Spalding the year before. In good company there. But beyond just that, right? You also win the overall Grammy for all, of all genres for Best New Artist. You knocked off Molly Tuttle, a bunch of other great artists. But what was it like sitting in the room there, not only winning one for your genre, the jazz genre, but then to win Best New Artist, like overall? Could you just not even believe it? Like, did you black out? Do you even remember going to stage?
Pretty freaking crazy. I don't think I wasn't prepared at all to make a speech. I really wasn't, because I just didn't expect to be chosen among that group of wonderful and very popular artists. But I don't really remember a whole lot. I remember my family was there. We got an Airbnb in Beverly Hills, and they were super excited to be in a mansion for the first time, pretty much, and spend time in that way. So, yeah, I was just really grateful. It doesn't seem like it's real, or that it actually happened, but I'm really excited. I was excited about it then, and I'm still in shock to this day.
Well, yeah, of course, because I want to remind all these listeners, like I guess the winners of that award that preceded you. It was Dua Lipa, Billie
Mhm.
Eilish, Megan Thee Stallion, and
It is
Olivia Rodrigo right before you, and then Victoria Monet right after you. So that's just insane. Now what's it like that you'll be included amongst those names forever in the history book?
crazy. I didn't even think about it like that. But
I'm
yeah,
listing them for you because you all should do a project together. We should call it the best new artists.
that would be insane. That would be an insane combination of sounds.
What if that's ever been attempted, where they rounded up the last handful of best new artists? That would be that thing would sell like crazy.
Most likely, most likely. I used to set it up.
Yeah, we're
We'll
starting the drum beat for that right now.
radio
Samara Joy,
debut.
put them in, get them all on a song. Uh, but that's great. All right, and then just sort of bring it, full circle. I guess 2023 was just a huge year for you too. And you dropped "Linger a While Longer," and then the Christmas one, "A Joyful Holiday." And then didn't you have, like, was it a digital single? Tight won you another Grammy for Best Jazz
Yes,
Performance. So you go back to the Grammys again and you win again. Come on, you getting greedy.
that was crazy. That was pretty wild.
What
I
was
was
that one like?
I wasn't. I mean, that experience was a lot more chill actually, because it was the non-televised category, and the only reason I was a part of the televised category was to announce the next best new artist, as sort of like a passing the torch kind of thing. They described it backstage.
Right.
But it was so much more chill. Oh my gosh. It was like way more laid back. And I was just like, okay, we're just going to go. You know exactly when this certain category is going to be announced. So you can go. I went at like 3 or something like that, instead of being up at 7 a.m. like I was for the first Grammys that I was a part of. So
Much better.
it was very chill, but and I was excited, and I was very happy that, especially that category was a new one. I think it phased out like best instrumental solo or something like that to best jazz performance. And so
Gotcha.
that was the first time that this category had ever been announced, and I won. So it was nice. I'm trying not to be greedy. Shoot, maybe I won't go back next year,
No,
just to
to
face.
totally joking. Go back and win every year for all I'm concerned. But so that's like the glitz and glamour of winning it. But how about, the artistry of putting together Tight? You know what I mean? Like, is there any good behind the scenes of just, composing or arranging, or I don't know. Our listeners love to hear more than just the Grammy rock skipping across the pond of your
That's
accolades. But like, let's dive under the surface of the water and let's go into some of the making of Tight.
Absolutely. Tight is actually a composition by one of my favorite singers, Betty Carter, that I had heard, but I was wondering if I could like do my own rendition of it. As much as I was inspired by it, I didn't want to necessarily copy her. And so that was kind of in the books and something that I was doing on tour and on the road for a while, just as a part of the set, not necessarily something that I was venturing to record. But then the label approached me and was like, they had come to all of my live shows and, saw the response to the song and was like, we should, just record just as a single, just as something to keep people engaged in between records and stuff like that. And so we went into Electric Lady Studios. I think we recorded maybe 4 or 5 takes. That was the only project for the day, was to get that song squared away. And it ended up it ended up winning, which is pretty amazing.
Thank you for the deep dive. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Is there anything? I guess I should phrase it this way. It's just off the top of my head, but is so like Tight gets you a Grammy, but is there anything that you're personally more proud of that maybe didn't get the accolades in terms of an individual track on one of your albums? Like, is there one or two that you're like, actually, this wasn't really acclaimed, but it should have been?
Hmm. Well, we got the chance to record Billy Strayhorn's composition "Lush Life," and that was kind of the first time I had recorded a song with the octet, before we had done a whole lot of touring as we've done now and kind of developed a musical relationship as we have now. So that was kind of our first kind of dip into what this would sound like, putting this group together. It was an original arrangement of the song, and it was nominated for a Grammy as well. It didn't win, but that's one that I was like, oh man, I really was hoping that it would be acknowledged in that way. But I'm glad that it was at least nominated because it was originally just an Amazon exclusive single, and when we put it up for nomination, it turns out that it was one of the 5 tracks. So, yeah, but I still love it. I still listen to it. So.
Well, you know what? It doesn't have to win for it to be some of your best work. That's
Yeah.
totally fine. Well, there you go. I wanted to give our listeners a shout out for them to go check out.
Mhm.
Well, that brings us full circle then, I guess, to the new album Portrait, the first song of which comes out today. How hard was it not to name it Linger a While Longer, Even Longer?
Oh, that was quite easy. Believe me. Whoa. I wasn't expecting for there to be so many lingers.
Do you
Uh,
do you have to? Do you
yeah.
have to let it linger? All right.
Linger a while more, even
Yeah,
longer.
even longer. No, it's all right. If you can go there one. You went to that well one extra time, but
Yes.
you didn't have.
After that, that's it.
I totally flubbed into this pun, but I said go to the well, which reminds me of that horror movie, The Ring, and the scary girl,
Oh,
and that was Samara you're
oh, Samara
Samara,
Morgan.
right? All right, isn't it Samara?
Samara Morgan.
You're
Terrifying.
gonna crawl through the screen of this interview. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. You've been so generous with your time. We'll let you run, but everyone, again, check out Samara Joy at the Anthem this Friday, August 30th, and then today pick up, download that first single off of the new album Portrait that's going to be coming out in October. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.